Alright, let's see if I can get it done this time. I'm not going to goof around, I'm just going to go right into it because apparently I don't have enough storage on my phone to make a long video. But this is the disassembly and reassembly of a factory trigger group. This one here actually has a modified hammer and sear. It's a Volquartsen unit. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and start doing this as fast as I can. But now I'll show you the little bitty tricks along the way, making sure I got my little fancy piece over here. Alright, first things first. You'll see that the bolt catch spring is here. The way I do this is I start with this pin and work my way back. This is about the easiest way I found out how to do it. And I'll push it over about like that. That way I can release it. Set it off to the side. I'll hold everything. Release it so I can get the pin out. Now it doesn't really matter because it's all retained by the bolt pin, or the hammer pin, sorry. From there, I'll move up to this pin here and just push it all the way out. It is your bolt release pin and the pin for the mag release. From here you'll push the mag detent in, which releases the pressure. Your mag release will fall right out. Set it off to the side, release mag release, or the mag detent and spring assembly comes out as one. From here I'll flip the spring back around, take it off safe, finger on the hammer so it don't go flying, release the pressure by pulling the trigger, pull out the spring for the hammer spring. From here I will push out the hammer pin. Now I'll remind you again, this is a modified hammer, aftermarket, and it actually is, if you have an older style trigger group, it has the bushings on it. As you can see, the newer ones won't have the bushings, so I'll keep all that intact, set it off to the side. The next thing to remove is the trigger and sear disconnect come out as one. As you can see, there's a spring down in there. All this is held under tension, so when I take this last pin out, this stuff will actually come apart. You can use a slave pin for this. I don't have a slave pin, but I will show you my fancy dancy little trick that I use to put it all back together. I'm doing this without putting the slave pin in right now to show you what happens if you push the pin out and then release the spring tension. My trigger return spring likes to jump out all the time. There it is. They all go together. Now, all this will come out as one unit if it stayed together. But most times, like mine like to do, is they come apart. Now, you can take this last pin out to get your sear catch out. There ain't really no need for it. I just flip it out of the way and leave it set. Now, the guys that like to modify their bolt or their hammer to lighten their trigger pull, see if my phone will focus. This is where you actually modify it, is right here. You will shave this part down, but you have to be very careful, because if you go too much, then you will have a full auto firearm. It will never catch like it's supposed to, or it will catch one time and give you that trigger pull and then it just goes crazy. That's why most times I will buy aftermarket. This was a second-hand trigger group that I bought before I started buying CNA tactical trigger groups. But this is a 2.5 pound trigger pull, or 2 pound trigger pull is what this one is. I've always been told not to modify the sear itself, because that is a big no-no. You cannot fix this one. The other one you can, because there's, on a factory one, there's tons of extra to put back together. Now, reassembly, is just the same. Now, this part here is a pain in the butt. I'll show you my fancy little trick to do it. Put your spring inside, flip all your assembly around, insert it together, get it together, hold pressure so your holes line up the best they can, because if you let go of this, it'll pop apart. Now, the neat little trick that I've learned is you take a Q-tip and you cut a Q-tip down to where it's just as wide as the trigger itself, because if not, it will actually hang up on the trigger group, the housing, when you try to put it back together. And now when you put that in, it acts as a slave pin, and it holds everything, won't come apart, stays together like it's supposed to. And to go from here, we will insert our trigger return spring, hold it back, insert the trigger, and you have to hold a light back pressure on the trigger itself. Get everything to line up right. There we go. And you'll see that the pin itself lines right up with the hole. Then I'll just take another pin, wiggle it around till it starts. And once it starts, you can drive the other pin that you made right on out. And now your trigger assembly is back together, and it drives the slave pin right on out. Simple as that. From here, you're going to put the hammer and bolt catch spring back in. The little dog leg on it is going to go to the inside. The best way I've learned for this one is to pull it up like this and hold it all together and drop it down in. And the new thing that I just learned after doing all these, I've done about 6 different videos, is rotate the bolt forward, or the hammer. Slide it in and just wiggle it around right there, and it slides right in. Simple as that. From here, you will take your hammer spring and drop it in. You'll see it only goes in one way. You cannot put this weight in this. It actually fits into the slot here on the back of the hammer. So the flat part will go to the back, and it will slide in. Rotate the hammer around, and you'll see that it all lines right up. And you will just cock the hammer so the sear grabs it, and now it's out of the way. Put it in safe so you don't accidentally pull the trigger and it shoot and throw everything the way it's not supposed to go. Rotate your bolt catch spring back around so it's like this. From here, the next step is to put in your mag catch. You'll take it, flip it over. It's about the easiest way I've learned to do it. Wiggle it until you can actually get it to push in. I've found that these are kind of temperamental when they want to go in for some reason here lately. But once you get it, it will pop right in like that. Holding it in, you can see that it pushes it back. Take your mag release, drop it in, and it will hold under tension. You can see that the hole's just about lined up. From here, you'll take one of your pins and go from this side and slide it in. That way you can push it over slightly, and you'll see that there's a slot for the bolt catch. You want to keep it out of that slot, but it still retains everything so it don't fall out. And this part here, I forgot to tell y'all, I had somebody ask about this, how to modify one of these to a auto bolt release. This is one that has been modified, and you can see It's just taking it and filing it down. I have a set of needle files that I use for this, and you'll just come in here and you'll knock this tip off and then round it around as so, and that allows it, when it's in the correct orientation, and you do like this, the bolt catch will actually put pressure here, and when you release, it'll let it slide down to release the bolt, as where this one will catch it, this one will release it when you do it. That's the only difference in them. So back to this, you're going to take and drop it in with the dog leg up still. You will push it down